I was never much of a From Software fan. Dark Souls games quickly turned me away whenever I tried them, and Sekiro, while very enjoyable and really well crafted, never quite compelled me enough to actually finish it. Despite this, I decided to give Elden Ring a try after seeing its critical acclaim, and like many, I fell in love immediately. The game looks incredible. The soundtrack is a banger and the overall atmosphere is so extraordinarily dense and immersive. I can think of few games that match it. The combat is super demanding yet fair and immensely rewarding. Progression in both gear and levels is well thought out and feels very satisfying, while also being, albeit slightly, more intuitive than in Dark Souls. The sheer amount of choice given to the player in both character customization and exploration of the open world is staggering, and the open world itself is unlike anything I've ever seen in a video game before. This last part is what I would like to focus on, as while all pieces of Elden Ring have undoubtedly been constructed with utmost care on the individual level, I believe what truly connects all of its aspects together so immaculately, making them work in tandem so seamlessly and perfectly, and what ultimately makes Elden Ring one of the best video games I've ever played, are the lands between. Elden Ring's open world. I'm VV, welcome to V Plus Control, and this is what makes Elden Ring's open world so exceptional. Okay, so when I said that the lands between are unlike any open world I've seen, I meant it. I think in many aspects they are fundamentally different, and I feel like they've been made with a fundamentally different approach by the developers. When it comes to how a video game open world usually operates, I think of it kind of like a trip with a guide, which, while providing breaks and opportunities to stray off the main path, will always make sure you see all the major attractions, be it from marking them for you on your map, placing them near paths you're definitely going to go through, or oftentimes even both. True discovery is usually left for secrets and Easter eggs, rarely is it the focal point when creating an open world. Elden Ring is not like that. Its world has been made to be discovered, not completely explored, walked through with guidance with a little discovery sprinkled throughout, but the opposite, to truly be discovered, with maybe a little guidance to help you push the main quest forward. There are barely any markers on your map besides the ones you place yourself. The quests you stumble upon don't just lead you to their next destination with a glowing arrow, and while many points of interest are easily found, either by being huge and visible from afar, teasing you to go and explore them, or by being placed in the vicinity of the main paths, there is an equally insane amount of hidden dungeons and locations, and these hidden dungeons and locations are actually hidden. To the point where I'd argue it's impossible to find everything during a single playthrough. And in my opinion, that is very much by design. You are not meant to find everything. By designing the world with this philosophy in mind, while the developers do sacrifice a little, as the player won't really see all the cool stuff their world has to offer, or at least not on their first playthrough, they do make all the cool stuff that the player does find feel all the more cool and rewarding, both for conquering it and actually finding it in the first place. Now, that's not to say the usual way of making an open world is inferior, or that the experience it provides can't be enjoyable, as it very much can, but in my opinion it leads to an entirely different experience than what Elden Ring has to offer. If I had to describe Elden Ring's world in a single word, scale would definitely be the first to come to my mind. Words like diversity and reward would surely follow soon after, but I do believe that when it comes to what actually makes the lands between so captivating to explore and ultimately conquer, scale takes center stage. Scale, not only in the sense of the map's sheer size and the unbelievable amount of points of interest it's scattered with, but also the actual sizes of said points and oftentimes their inhabitants too. Elden Ring is a very demanding game, in usual From Software fashion mind you. You're just one lowly tarnished trying to achieve the impossible and become the Elden Lord, and the scale of everything around you hammers this point home. For skill, strategy, repetition and determination, you'll have to conquer gigantic castles and ruins, as well as undergrounds and caves spanning seemingly endlessly. You'll have to bring giants to their knees. And slay dragons tens of times your size. Even the staggeringly huge Erdtree reminds you of how small you are and how insurmountable the challenge is by looming over you at all times. It's this scale that contributes greatly to the feeling of a truly epic, awe-inspiring adventure this game so deeply invokes. But still, it's not enough to just make the environments big if they're not fun to play through in the first place. Plenty of games fail in this department, featuring huge explorable landscapes or very expansive levels, but dropping the ball when it comes to making them look memorable or filling all the space with worthwhile gameplay and rewards, resulting in, at best, a boring and dissatisfying experience, and at worst, a very frustrating one. I think it even more impressive then that From Software managed to succeed at all of the above, making Elden Ring's environments, despite their sizes, all meticulously crafted. Visually, this game is a really memorable feast for the eyes, as you've probably noticed from watching the footage. The variety in sites is huge, with all the significant locations in the world differing vastly from each other in terms of both their color palette and architecture. Even the smaller dungeons, despite sharing similar art style and infrastructure, or not having fully unique bosses, instead featuring variations of older ones, feel unique. The developers have really done a great job of making sure these smaller sections are never uninteresting or feel like fodder content. The main biomes themselves are also very distinct, not only looking almost completely different from each other, but also offering varied topography and weather conditions. All this makes traversing the lands between a spectacle in and of itself. Countless times have I just stopped exploring for a while to appreciate the views around me. I really have no doubt I'll remember many of the game's areas for a long time, even after putting the game down. Gameplay wise, it is just as good. The lands between are filled to the brim with interesting things you'll run into. The overworld features threats in forms of both enemy encounters and traversal challenges, as even the land's aforementioned varying topography can pose a hazard. The differences in heights around the world are huge, and finding the way of getting down or going up is not always obvious. The particular locations in said overworld do not lack either, being all exceptionally tightly constructed, demanding skillful play and resource management, as well as rewarding exploration on a smaller scale, with plenty of paths, shortcuts, and hidden chests to find. Speaking of rewards, It's another part that substantially adds to how intensely fulfilling the player's endeavors feel, regardless of their scope. Whether you're repeatedly trying to push through a main boss, or exploring a small-scale dungeon you randomly stumbled upon, you can be sure you'll be rewarded meaningfully. Through different weapons, pieces of armor, crafting materials, spells, ashes of war, talismans, and many more waiting to be grabbed from the corpses of your adversaries or chests guarded by them. It's remarkable how vast the equipment you'll seize is, and how few times it ends up feeling truly mediocre and not worth the trouble. Most often the items I found were genuinely exciting, and even if they weren't immediately useful or a straight upgrade over my current stuff, I could absolutely imagine using them in the future once I change my character's statistics or to help with a particular segment. The developers have really made sure that every venture you undertake is worthwhile, and it's an aspect that I feel like is not always appreciated enough when done right, considering how often it is done wrong. In general, I think it says something truly spectacular that the feeling I get when playing Elden Ring is that the lands between, although so huge and 90% optional, have been made with such great care and talent every step, every castle, every dungeon of the way, that nothing in them feels like it's only been added to pad out playtime and fill the world artificially. I never feel like any part of the world I'm exploring was made primarily with the intention of only checking a checkbox on the list called Big Open World. The entirety of the lands between feel like Elden Ring's main section, and I really don't think there is a bigger compliment I can give to an open world video game. With all that being said, do I think Elden Ring is perfect? Definitely not. The game does stumble a little in a few aspects, mainly in the user experience and overall quality of life department, with some poorly or sometimes even not at all explained systems and a few needlessly frustrating respawns being my main gripes. Its open world, however, truly is unmatched, and is the main reason why, in my eyes, Elden Ring really is a masterpiece of a video game.
I command thee. I am the Lord of all that is golden.
Thank you for watching the video. It was a ton of fun to make, but also a real struggle at times, especially near the end. I really had to push myself to finish it. But at last it's done, and I can't wait to hear what you guys think. If you have any criticism or praise for me, or just want to have a discussion why you agree or disagree, I'll be waiting for you in the comments, so let's try and get a discussion going. I'll be looking to create more, better content, better both technically and creatively, because I think that while I'm really proud of this video, I mean there is a lot of headroom for improvement, that's for sure, and I can't wait to be on this journey, and hopefully something comes out of it. This is definitely a learning experience for me, but we're gonna give it a go. So once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time.